Hey guys, welcome to a Sunday edition of Legally Owned America's Live. I've got a couple things I want to go over today. You guys know that I've been covering in the last week several instances of what they call mass shootings. I may or may not use the quotes the whole time, every time I do that, because I use that phrase on purpose to try to paint a particular picture of all shootings to lump them into one category in order to create this false assumption that there's some kind of an quote epidemic out there. I've got some things here, several different links that I pulled up, and let me go through some of them now to show you kind of what's going on, some updates on some of the shootings out there. Let's see, the first one here, let me get it in here. Let's see if you guys can see what I'm pulling up here. Okay, so kind of to my point earlier in a video that I had about how different what they call mass shootings are completely different in nature and can't be approached the same way. What I mean by that is if for some reason you have different approaches in mass shootings, and I'll do a much more thorough video about this later on this week. But if your true goal is to prevent what they call mass shootings, but yet you treat every single type of shooting the same way with the intent to solve them with the exact same answer, then you're not being serious about solving mass shootings. In other words, since they don't all evolve and they're not created the same way, they don't have the same root cause, it's impossible to make them go away if you treat them all the same way. If you go into the emergency room and you say your leg is hurting and it hurts really, really bad, if you have a bullet hole through your thigh, they will likely treat it a particular way. If you have a brown recluse bite on your thigh, they will likely treat it a different way. If your knee down is missing from your leg, they will likely treat that a separate way. So you've got three different causes of why your leg hurts, but they should not ever be treated the same way. A bullet hole, a brown recluse bite, and a missing leg should not be treated the same way. That's fairly obvious to most people out there. But for some reason, they think that you can treat all gun issues the same way. And I say gun issues, I mean shooting issues. So you've got crimes of passion, which might be, somebody divorced somebody and the boyfriend comes over and they get drunk, whatever. And all of a sudden, somebody shoots the new boyfriend, the ex husband does, or vice versa, whatever. That's kind of a crime of passion. That's not the same. The person did not arrive at that same desire to kill somebody the same as a gang would be. If a gang, a couple of gangs, for instance, like what happened in Memphis last night, or at a particular location and something starts, they're going to shoot at each other. It doesn't have to have anything to do with a girlfriend, ex wife, or anything like that. They arrived at that in more of a retaliatory nature. And of course, they obviously shoot back in retaliatory nature, but it's all based on a beef that two groups have with one another. They're not necessarily looking for a specific person to shoot by name, like if you're crime of passion, you're passionate murder or whatever of the ex-boyfriend or whatever. He's wanting to kill that one person. Where a gang is looking to kill somebody in that gang, the other gang, the rival gang, the people they have a beef with, and it may be a specific person, of course, who is done something and now they need to be dealt with. Specifically there, but it's not like they woke up that morning thinking that there was going to be something that they needed to do like that. This just happened in the gang industry where they decided this is going to be the day that I go shoot somebody. No, you're probably going to have that. The crime of passion is more, I guess, brought on by emotion, where you're, or I guess, long term emotion, where your gang shooting is short term emotion. The person gets mad right then and there, and it's time to do whatever they're going to do, or they get mad at that person and they set out to go do a drive by or whichever. The third type of issue that you would have with a shooting of some sort is the sociopath, the person who just has been brought up in a really bad home life for whatever reason, whether it's a dad missing, abusive home life, sexually, mentally abused, whatever. Then they're also bullied in school, so they have that pent up tension, and then they're over medicated or mismedicated in some kind of way with the psychotropic drug that has manic and homicidal and suicidal side effects to it. So that's a totally different type of situation. So if you had those three different types of shootings and you intended to say mitigate them or make them go away, would you treat them the same way? Any honest person would say no, right? Just like any honest person would say, you don't treat those leg injuries the same way. You absolutely don't treat a bullet wound to the thigh or a brown recluse bite to the thigh or a leg missing the same way. Does the person's leg hurt? Yeah, probably about the same in most cases. They probably have the same amount of pain. So if they were just describing the level of pain they had and the location being their leg, all things being equal, hey, shouldn't we just treat that the same way? Well, that's what the anti gun community would have you believe. We must just treat these all the same way. I've been stressing and trying to let people know that we have to start speaking out on that. If anyone in the anti gun community is really serious about ending these types of gun violence, as they call them, but yet they put all of these in the same box to try to create this narrative that there's some big giant spree of these crazy killings that are all to be dealt with in the exact same way. Well, then they're being dishonest about it, or they're telling you what more than likely the issue is, which I think it's a little bit of both. I think they are dishonest, and I think they are trying to do this, put them all in the same bucket for a reason, because their real goal is not to stop the person from killing anybody. That's never been their goal. Their goal can't be achieved if killings go away. So they want these people to continue to kill people with guns. Their goal all along has been to take the guns away. So if you solve the problem of the people wanting to kill other people, then unfortunately for them, the gun issue goes away. They don't have the gun issue anymore. So they have no way to make money. They make a lot of money, billions of dollars in the anti gun movement on having other people kill people. So when you have a quote mass shooting, whether it is a crime of passion where an ex husband kills an ex wife, or whether it's a gang shooting, or whether it's a true sociopath that kills a bunch of people because he has mental issues, the anti gun movement is going to happily put those all in the same bucket because it furthers their cause and it generates fundraising opportunities for them. That's all they're after. They're paying bills with this money that they make. They're putting food on their families' tables. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just telling you that's why they are motivated to do these types of things and incorrectly put them all in the same bucket. Are they serious about stopping these people from killing other people? Not at all. Not one single bit. Because again, their core business goes away at that point if the killing stops. So they really don't want it to stop. This way, if they can always keep people wanting to kill people, then you're always going to have some kind of issue out there that nobody is ever attempting to stop, which is the people out there with the mindset that they want to kill somebody else. Now, can they solve these people wanting to kill other people? I don't think so. I think they can slow them down. I say they. I'm certainly not insinuating that the government has any hand in this. I'm talking about people in general helping other people to not want to murder other people. I think in your crimes of passion, probably not a whole excuse me, probably not a whole lot you can do, unfortunately. When somebody gets mad and they see the person that they've lived portion of their life with somebody else, sometimes it just tends to set off emotions. And of course, in a lot of cases, especially if there are children involved, unfortunately, there's a higher set of emotions involved. And then we can all agree that in a lot of cases, the opposing ex spouses tend to egg things on a little bit. They tend to make it worse. They tend to say smart aleck things. They tend to, put things in other people's faces. So I don't think you'll ever get rid of those types of murders, unfortunately. That is a murder that took place last week. I think it was Mississippi, where a man killed his ex-wife and shot 5 or 6 other people. That was clearly not gang related and clearly not an actual mass shooting. This was a crime of passion, and that's how this originated. Again, can those go away? Can we do anything to make those go away? I'm not sure. Other than convincing people that, to live a different type of lifestyle to where they maybe stay together, but you'll never prevent that. That's not going to stop. On the gang related shootings, can we ever stop that? Oh, I don't know. I mean, maybe if we promoted positive home life, that might help a little bit. That might slow it down, but will it ever go away? No, because you're always going to have deadbeat dads. You're always going to have people who think it's cool. The gang type of society, that little cult culture that they have. It's it's made to look cool. You know what I mean? They try to make it look sexy. Um, they promote it as, yeah, it's bad, but look how cool these guys are. They're in a gang, blah, blah, blah. We know it's stupid, but they think it's cool. So that will probably never go away. There's a lot of things in society that have to be fixed for that kind of stuff to actually go away. And of course, the third, will that ever go away? Will sociopaths ever that evolve into rampage killers ever go away? I mean, we have to make a better effort, just like we do on the gang shootings, to assemble a better home life for people. I'm not saying that every broken home is going to produce a sociopath or a rampage killer. Obviously, that's not the case. But clearly, better home lives are going to slow that down and mitigate that, because you're going to have better opportunities for the children to be raised better. Also, the bullying that'll never stop. You have adults that bully kids at school. You have adults, like I mentioned in my book, How to Make a Monster. You've got adults who were not the cool kids in school, and I'm certainly not saying only the cool kids are cool, but you have adults who were not in that group, and they so long to be accepted in that group of cool kids because they were the outcasts, the nerds, or whatever. Then they become teachers, and all of a sudden they're at least in some kind of a situation to be cool, because if they can be friends and look the other way when the actual cool kids in school do something wrong or bad and bully somebody else, then now that teacher or that coach or that administrator, they look cool. So now they have, without admitting it themselves, they've been accepted into that cool kid category that they longed to be in while they were in school. Now, as an adult, they finally made their way into that. Will that ever go away? No. Will the over prescribing of drugs, mood altering drugs, psychotropic drugs, will that ever go away? Of course not. The pharmaceutical companies make way too much money in this world, especially this country. That will absolutely never go away. They control things. People talk about the oil companies all the time. I find it amusing that so many of these wackos on the far left talk about the oil companies ruling and controlling the world, when you have these pharmaceutical companies that make gazillions of dollars and nobody says anything about it. So will that go away? No, that's not going to change. So unfortunately, some of these things can't change. Can we do a better job of trying to slow them down and maybe minimize how many of those are out there? Of course we can. Just like anything else, a little bit of an effort. If you prevent one guy from going killing a school full of kids, to me, that's a big victory. So that's why I think it's important. And again, I'm going to put a much more comprehensive video out on this very topic, showing those three things out there and those three different types of patterns that some of these murders that, and I'm really focusing on the mass shooter part of it, the mass shooter. I don't like that term mass shooter because it is such a blanket term that's being used on purpose to paint a negative picture that doesn't really exist. There's really not as many mass shootings as one will believe. If you look at some of these organizations out there, they will tell you that we've had like 600 this year, which is not true. It's absolutely not true. Part of it, again, is because they throw so many of these into the same category, and that's dishonest and not true to do, not fair to do that. But I do want to put a good video out probably in the coming weeks, this week or next week, explaining a lot of that, because I think it's important that we do that. And as a gun community, I think it's important that we do that, simply because I think we have to get that word out to get people around the water cooler and who are having conversations with other people to also pass this word along and start debunking and breaking down this false narrative that mass shootings are a massive epidemic out there. When, again, just like the leg analogy that I told you, if we treat them all the same way, we're not really trying to fix it. If a doctor comes in and sees a bullet hole in your leg and he treats you as if the rest of your leg was gone, like if he puts a tourniquet in the bottom of it, like below it, to stop the bleeding. In other words, if your leg is lopped off right above the knee, well, if that's the case, you would want to put a tourniquet on right there. I'm speaking in very simple terms. Obviously, there's way more things the physician would want to do, but you would put that tourniquet on right above the knee area. If you had a bullet hole in your thigh, you would not put that tourniquet in the same location. You'd put it above the wound, right? And probably, I doubt you'd even bother with a tourniquet if you had a spider bite of a brown recluse. So again, if a doctor puts a tourniquet on below the wound on a bullet hole, he's not serious about fixing that leg. That person will likely lose that leg and more than likely bleed out and die. So if we're not being serious about actually treating the actual symptoms and we throw a blanket over everything, then we're not being honest about any of this. And these people are showing their true, obviously target of what their intent is, and that is not to solve any of that. So interesting enough, I wanted to show some of the updates on some of these stories. As you see, I have the Michigan shooting up. Michigan State gunman had a list of other targets and extra ammunition when police found him. Let's go through some of this. CNN, the gunman who killed 3 Michigan State University students and critically wounded 5 others. Let me blow this up a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. Let's see. Had a list of other targets, 2 handguns, and plenty of ammunition when police found him on foot after the campus massacre, authorities revealed Thursday. After gunfire terrorized the East Lansing campus Monday evening, an alert citizen who saw news coverage helped lead police to 43-year-old about 4 miles northwest of campus. It appeared he was walking home. It's going a little bit further. As police closed in on him, the guy said nothing to the officers before he shot and killed himself. Investigators found a trove of items on this guy's body and his backpack, including 2 9mm handguns that were legally purchased but not legally registered, whatever that means. I mean, from a constitutional standpoint, I'm being smart about that. Obviously, he's in a state where you have to register them. A note listing more potential targets, which why in the world, if you are hell bent on killing people, this is what makes me seem like this is staged. If you have an intention to kill specific people, do you honestly need a note to remind you who those people are? If your mind has gotten to a place where you feel like it's important for you to end your life of freedom and potentially end your entire life, so you intend to take the lives of other people, do you need to refer to a little note in your pocket to remind you who those people are? Or are those people maybe in the front of your mind already without needing a handwritten reminder? Oh, yeah, Gary. I was going to take Gary out too. My bad. I forgot about Gary. I took these other people out, but oh, Gary, here I come, Gary. I'm coming to get you. Thank God for my note. Good thing I didn't wash my pants with the note in it, or I wouldn't have known that I needed to kill Gary. Let's see. 2 schools in New Jersey's Ewing Township, about 600 miles from MSU, were among the potential targets. Again, why did you need a note to remind you of that? Did not you already think that through? A loaded magazine that was full to capacity in his left breast pocket. 8 loaded magazines of 9mm ammunition that were in his backpack. A pouch with about 50 rounds of loose 9mm. 2 bus tickets, which authorities plan to follow up with the local transit agency about. Police later carried out a search warrant at his home. There they found a cell phone, journals, and other writings, and fired 9mm casings. Let's see. Professor describes gunman firing in his classroom. We're going to go through all of that. I don't think that's necessary. I can post these links later on for you guys to see. Let's see. The other mass shooting that I wanted to talk about is the one over in El Paso. I put this video out Thursday morning while I was in Missouri, and I want to follow back up on that because it looks like, hey, I was right. Remember I said this was not a quote mass shooting, that this was going to be either gang related or it was going to be people who had a beef with one another. I even went so far as to say that this is a big thoroughfare rather, of illegal immigrants, illegal Mexicans, illegal aliens coming through Mexico into the United States in the El Paso area, one of the more popular and most visited areas for people to illegally cross into the country. Therefore, alluding to the fact that these are very likely and possibly Hispanics who were involved. Well, guess what? Paul was right again. El Paso, Texas. A license to carry holder from El Paso shot and injured a 16-year-old boy shortly after the teen used a stolen gun to kill a 17-year-old boy inside the Chilo Vista Mall Wednesday. The victim, Angeles Zaragoza, was part of one group involved in a confrontation with another group, meaning gangs, near the food court area of the second level. Police said the confrontation began around 5:05 and escalated into a physical fight. As the groups fought, the 16-year-old boy from El Paso County, pulled a gun, shot Zaragoza, and seriously wounded a 17-year-old boy who was part of the first group. It is always concerning when a 16-year-old has a stolen handgun and fires a weapon inside a crowded mall. It's very concerning. It's very disturbing, actually, El Paso Police Sergeant Robert Gomez said. Police said 20-year-old man was part of the group the accused shooter belonged to, was also shot and injured. The 16-year-old boy began to run and reportedly pointed the gun toward the direction of bystanders and a 32-year-old Emmanuel Duran. Police said Duran, who is a license to carry, pulled out his handgun and shot the teen at least 2 times before he felt threatened. Because he felt threatened. Good on him for doing that. An off-duty police officer arrived at the area of the shooting, and you know what? They gave the off-duty police officer. I want to point that out real quick. They gave that off-duty police officer the credit for stopping this shooting originally. The paper did, the news media did. And I thought that was kind of premature because we really didn't know much about what had happened yet. And it looks to me, obviously, that maybe that should not have been the case, because now it appears that obviously this person is the one who shot the perpetrator, this law-abiding citizen who was carrying his firearm, not part of a gang and not law enforcement. It appears, though, of course, that he did stop the shooting. Well, the police officer appears to have gotten, credit for that, while in fact he just arrived at the shooting. Again, not a huge deal, but I think it's a little bit disingenuous whenever they do that kind of stuff and glaze over that. In fact, this is a CNN story, and I'm shocked that CNN even said the words. Where is it? Let's see. Well, heck, where is it now? Oh, I'm sorry. I was on the wrong tab. Police said 16-year-old began. Here we go. I'm shocked that they said police said Duran, who is licensed to carry. I'm shocked that they pointed that detail out. More than likely, they would have liked to have glazed over that, but that seemed like a pretty critical piece of the story that they absolutely could not bury. So surprising they did that. Okay, let's move on. Off-duty officer called down the radio that subject was in custody. Investigators found that there were at least 2 other people in the area that were legally armed. Apparently, they didn't do much of anything. A 17-year-old girl, 16-year-old boy, 14-year-old boy, 14-year-old girl were also part of the first group involved. Police said a 17-year-old boy and 15-year-old boy were also members of the second group. Violent crime is concerning no matter what age group. The fact that they are teenagers is very disturbing. So that's another type of situation that we have there, right? Let's move on to our next one. Pardon me 1 second. I have to remove some of these in order to bring the next tab in. So that's why you were not reading along to that one with me. Let me find, this next one. Okay, let's see if this is the right one. Oops, looks like my stream might be screwing up. All right, well, it appears my stream is jacked up right now. I'm going to wait 1 second to see, if the stream comes back, because it appears that it is messed up. So those of you that might still be in the room, I apologize. Let me see. Why is that even doing that? Sometimes I really question why this computer does what it does. Let me see if I can find which one this is. Nope, that was still the wrong one. Stand by 1 second. Okay. Let me add this to the screen. I want you to be able to see this one with me. Where is this next one at? Lafayette Woods, person of interest. Okay. The video I put out this morning is of this new shooting that is over in the Memphis area. As I mentioned in my video, if you have not seen it, it's up. Please go take a look at it if you get a chance. It's of gangs. And there's 2 rival gangs that apparently met outside of a bar in Memphis, shot at each other, and of course, they got away. 1 person killed, 10 others shot. No one wants to talk about this. This is not to be treated the same as a sociopath that kills somebody else because they have issues, mental issues. As I stated in the video, is there something wrong with these people and these gangs to shoot each other? Of course there is, because I don't approach things like they do. I'm not a tribal person that feels like I belong to a group and I want to go kill a whole bunch of other people just because they um, disrespected my turf or something like that. If it's not my house, I don't care where you are. But nevertheless, gangs don't approach things with a reasonable outlook on them. So you can't treat these the exact same way. The problem I have is that these types of things, excuse me, let me grab a sip of water real quick if you don't mind. I seem to be struggling here. My problem is the people who exploit these types of crimes because they benefit financially and politically from them. Case in point, we have, let me pull his thing up. I'm going to put probably a video on this guy out tomorrow, and he's going to be real mad at me. He's going to be real mad. Let's see. Video, extra cameras. Let me take this one off and bring this other one in. It's kind of tough to do this sometimes by yourself, so just bear with me while I pull these up. This guy right here. This guy, Lafayette Woods, he's the sheriff of the county over from Memphis in Arkansas. This dude ain't even in Tennessee. He's across the border in Arkansas, of all places. He felt the need to speak up. Now, you want to know why I know this guy is a Democrat? Because he mentions gun violence and what we have to do, when is it going to stop, and all the same old bull crap buzzwords that you hear from these jackasses all the time whenever there's some kind of a gang. This guy's talking about a gang shooting now, but he's pleading with politicians to do something. He don't want anything to change. And the only reason why this fool is speaking up is look at him. Re-elect Lafayette Woods. So you got some clown sheriff who's ending the end or nearing the end of his first term as sheriff in Arkansas, talking about a shooting that happened in Memphis that has nothing to do with his county in Arkansas. And he's running his mouth about what are we going to do? When are we going to do it? Something has to be done. Oh, reelect me. These people exploiting these types of, he's literally talking about thoughts and prayers and how sad and devastating this is. He's praying for the victims and the families. Why are you praying for the victims? The victims apparently were trash and garbage. These were not innocent bystanders. These were gang members who were shot. Yeah, do I feel bad for them? Do I feel bad for their soul and for them as no one deserves to have their life lost? Yeah, to a certain degree, because I'm a person and I'm better than they are. But they brought it on themselves. If I go out and stand in front of a train and the train hits me, I expect people to pray for me, probably for why I was so stupid. Why was Paul so stupid? He stood in front of that train. But I brought it on myself. I had it coming because I was stupid enough to stand in front of a train as it was coming. These people are stupid enough to join gangs, be in them, shoot at other people, risking potentially getting shot back at. Now, I realize gangs typically aren't trained very well. In other words, kind of like the scene in Pulp Fiction where they shoot at Jules and the bullets hit all over the wall behind him and not a single bullet grazes him. That's usually what you see in gang shootings. Gangs shoot way more bullets than victims they have in their actual shootings. They're going to shoot 20, 30, 50 rounds sometimes and one person gets hit. That's just typical of the nature of their training, if you will. Their training is usually, the extent of that is playing along to a rap song in a video or something like that and dancing with their guns. That's usually the most amount of time that they have with actual training where they're holding a weapon of any sort and doing anything with it. You're not finding these guys at the ranges. I go to the range. I don't see gang members at the range. Oh, you wouldn't know them if you saw them. Yeah, I would. I would absolutely know if I saw them. The gang members don't go to the ranges that I've ever been to. They're not training properly like I see. So I know that's where they get their type of training from. And again, this clown Lafayette Woods is exploiting a situation that's got nothing to do with them. So it's like I said in my video earlier, look for people like this fool right here and some other people Monday morning to exploit this even more, because now they're going to have the headlines. Now they're going to have people's attention at the beginning of a week. That's usually when you have a busier news cycle because people are back to work, not paying attention to the fun stuff that's happening over the weekend. We actually have Mardi Gras down here in Louisiana, so not as many people will be at work for the next 2 days. But still, you see this, and you see this type of situation where people are going to start exploiting these types of situations. And it's unfortunate because these types of people are showing their ignorance and their lack of desire to actually solve any kind of a real problem whenever it comes down to this type of violence. They won't call it gang violence; they call it gun violence. That's being dishonest and disingenuous. They should be approaching this as gang violence. Whenever a sociopath kills a bunch of people with a gun, they should be calling that. Call it whatever you want, but they should be calling it sociopath violence. They should be calling it mental health violence. It's not the same as gang violence. Whenever you have crimes of passion where they kill each other, they should be calling that crimes of passion violence or whatever catchy buzzword they want to use. But again, to repeat what I said, to put them into the same box and category is disingenuous, dishonest, and it shows that your real intent is to never actually approach or minimize people killing other people. And it shows me what your goal is. I've done my work to try to get the word out on this kind of stuff, to try to teach people that this is in different ways and approached in different ways. And if we are truly going to help our fellow man stop taking other people's lives, we have to focus on the actual root cause of what's happening and quit being fake about all of this stuff, acting like we care about everybody. There's going to be people that argue with me all the time and say, oh, well, it doesn't matter if it's a mass shooting, a gang shooting, or a sociopath shooting, or a crime of passion. It's all people killing. We need to try to work on all of it. Well, I get the fact that you want to feel better about yourself and approach them all. But if you're not approaching them all three differently, then you're not serious about it. So quit trying to make me look like the bad guy, because I'm trying to get you to recognize the specific root cause of why the human brain is attempting to kill other people. You're simply throwing it out there to minimize or to take away firearms in general because you think that's what's going to help people. If tomorrow you were able to rub a magic lamp and your first wish was to make every single gun magically disappear, and they did, let's say they all did, what happens in the crime of passion? What happens? Baseball bat, knife, beer bottle, run them over with a car, beat them to death, strangle them, smother them, set their house on fire, poison them. Gang related, what happens then? Knives, baseball bats, cars, same types of situation. What happens with these sociopaths that are killing people out there? I don't know. You tell me. Maybe a bomb. If their true intent is to kill as many people as possible, a bomb. So what did you solve by rubbing your lamp and making every single gun go away? Nothing. You just incentivize people to figure out another way to take a human life. So if you're not trying to approach it from how do we get people to stop deciding that they want to take a human life, you're not doing anything. You are not focusing on the true root cause of what this is about. And again, I have to say this again, you're being disingenuous and dishonest because you're truly not thinking this through. If you really care, put forth a little bit more effort in your thought process and quit being so damn lazy, because that's all you're doing is trying to deflect and take any real responsibility away from yourself of having to actually think about the process and the whole reason why people are electing to take other people's lives. And it's easier just to buy a t-shirt and a bumper sticker that tells people to take guns away, because now you feel better about yourself and you've done your part. You've done your part in gun violence. Let's end all gun violence. Yay, look at me. I did my part. Let me do a Facebook post where I put a ring around my picture that says, stop all gun violence. I've done my part. Let's do that for you too. Maybe we can do that, make you feel better about yourself. That way all your friends know that you have done your part. Nothing else you got to do. We're done. It's a win. It's a win. I did my part. Look at my Facebook post. Yay. You're not doing anything. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed by that. Figure out why people are trying to kill other people, and let's work on those things. God forbid you talk about a better home life. God forbid we promote any kind of positive family environment around the house. We sure don't want to go there, right? You're going to be called racist for that. You'll be called something. I don't know what you're going to be called, but it certainly ain't going to be positive things from the media and people in general, because God forbid we do that. The government has promoted single parent homes for so long, incentivizing them with money and all kinds of other free cheese to throw at them. The government doesn't want that to go away. They want these single parent homes. The government does not want us to have quality, nice, stable home lives. They've never wanted that. If they did, they would have incentives to keep people together and to raise children with two parents in the house instead of incentivizing exactly the opposite. Have as many kids as you as you can, and don't be married. There are tax breaks and tax credits out there for that very thing. You can live a nice, comfortable life by not being married and spitting out as many children as you can with no worries in the world, because it's not your problem, right? It's the government's problem at that point. We're not honest about fixing any of this stuff. We're just not. I want to go through the chat room real quick because you guys have spent your time coming here to visit with me now. So I usually do this at the beginning of the live stream, but I'm going to go through here and just do a couple of shout outs real quick. I do appreciate you guys spending your time with me. So I want to make sure I acknowledge a lot of you. And I know I'm going to miss some of you. So please forgive me for that. I do not mean to. I'm going to start at the very top for the folks that came in the room first. I know I usually do this at first, but I came in right off the bat and I want to cover some of this real quick. Bobby, Luke, Tomahawk, Sal, Ryan. Good to see you again, Ryan, as always. Constitutional Patriot, round one. Patrick, Johnny 3-bar. Good to see you again, buddy. Danny, Ryan Monk. Hey, Ryan, what's up, dude? Roddy's Rule, Tactical Squirrel, Freaky Frank Booth, Bobby. I said Bobby already. Baron, Buckeye Patriot. Good to see you again, bud. Nice to see you from Ohio. I hope things are better around your place, man. Definitely praying for you guys up there in Ohio. I know everything just so bad going on up there, and the government really turned their back on you guys. Minnie Trout, good to see you. Edward Bernard, Rodney Moles, Unforgettable, Florida Critic, Fluffy's 10. I'm sorry, I can't read some of this stuff. 10 millimeter Jeep guy. Got you. See, C&T Designs and Arms, Mr. F&H. What's going on, man? C&T Designs and Arms. Sniper Fox 34. Is that Abel Windsor? The Sentinel, Clint Eastwood. What's up? I got Clint Eastwood in my live stream. Let's see. Let me roll down to some of the newer ones. Oh, and let me address this real quick. Where is that? Mike, thank you for the donation, buddy. I appreciate that. It means a lot that you do that. And I appreciate you being a member too, Mike. Hope you enjoyed that other video that we gave you guys the other day. I'm going to be doing more of those for the members out there, just straight up political. For those of you that don't know, I don't set the membership program up necessarily to, quote, make money to get members. I'm not going to restrict my normal Second Amendment content for people to have to go pay to watch it. I don't think that's right. I think if your heart is really in it to further the Second Amendment rights cause, that you don't make your videos to where people have to purchase their way in to watch your videos. If other people decide to do that, that's on them. They can justify why they think that's a good thing to do. I'm not going to do that. However, I do create their membership status type thing for a couple of different ways. If somebody wants to have, say, a sponsor, for instance, wants to sponsor me or something like that, it's one of those kind of things where, hey, if they're willing to pay and they want to, get their name called out or shouted out or whatever, I don't have a problem doing that if they want to pay money. And I'll also have the membership level at the entry level. I think it's $4.99. That if you want to see my take on political issues, you can pay that, and I'll put specific videos out that are private, but only for those members. In other words, I've put, political videos out before on my channel here, Legally Armed American. People have complained, oh, it's politics. Well, I don't want to hear about politics. I just want to hear about firearms. Okay, I heard you. I don't do that anymore. But I put those membership related videos out there because I still have views on politics and I still have things that I want to talk about. So I put those videos as the membership so that if you want to hear that side of me, and I don't want to aggravate and piss off the other people who just come to my channel to watch the 2A content, well, you can spend the $4.99 a month and go watch that. So that's kind of how I do that. I don't do it to, quote, make money, but I make it available for anybody that wants to hear my thoughts on the political side. Speaking of political side, I don't know if you guys realize it or not. Some of you were in the live stream. Actually, quite a few of you were in the live stream last Monday. As I started a new podcast live stream that for right now it's hitting on Monday nights. Not sure the exact time for tomorrow night because I may have something that I have to do at 8 p.m. tomorrow. But last Monday we kicked off our debut of Thinktown podcast, and it's 4 of us that are in there. It's a lady and 3 guys, and it's all politics. It's not just Second Amendment related, although I will include some Second Amendment related stuff on there. But I ran it through this channel last week and the Thinktown podcast channel last week. But there will come a time at some point where I won't run it through this particular channel anymore on Legally Armed America, and it will all be just on the Thinktown podcast. So if you're interested in that type of thing, we'll go for an hour or two, and we talk about just a plethora of other topics like the Ohio chemical spills, like the Chinese balloons, those types of issues. If you're interested in that, you can go over to the Thinktown podcast and like and subscribe over there so that you get notifications when we go live. Because again, at some point, I won't run those through the Thinktown, the Legally Armed America YouTube page anymore. It'll strictly be over there exclusively on the Thinktown podcast site. So we'll probably do for the remainder of this month, probably for about 2 to 3 more weeks. We'll run that podcast through here as well as Thinktown podcast, but by March it'll probably more than likely exclusively only on the Thinktown podcast. And if you want to send some ideas in of what you'd like us to talk about, you can do that as well. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. I want to look. Yep, and this is a great comment too. I got to put this out here. Derek says, unfortunately, firearms are political, even though they shouldn't be. If you're into firearms and are politically complacent, might as well be a 2A opponent. I can't totally disagree with that because I've said this many, many times that typically speaking, I know I have some people who are, let me get this clown's face off of here. More on him tomorrow. Oh, by the way, that guy that I just clicked off of, this guy right here. I know some of you appreciate some of my recorded phone calls. I will be calling Lafayette Woods Jr.'s office tomorrow, Sheriff Woods, and asking him why he felt the need to speak out on this topic when he has nothing to do with it. So it ought to be pretty fun and interesting to have a phone call. He's probably not going to take the call, so it'll probably just be some stupid conversation I have with his office. But you never know. The guy may call me back, or he may actually take my call. So I will be calling this clown tomorrow. So look for that video tomorrow or the next day, because I'll be putting that call into Sheriff Woods to find out why he's politicking in a state that has nothing to do with him. So anyway, I forget even where I was going for that with that comment. I apologize for that. So much going on right now. And look, I'm going to tell you, man, this whole slew since, if you want to start with the Asian mass shootings over in California, the 2 that took place there, that kind of kicked off this crazy little run of mass shootings that we've been having lately. There's been a lot of them. And there was one this past week they really ramped up. Was it Wednesday, then Friday, then Saturday? And I think there was one more that I'm not thinking of or not remembering. It makes you wonder. I know a lot of people talk about, oh, it's staged and the government's doing this. There's some really odd things about how some of this stuff is taking place and how, for some reason, we get a run on these things whenever there are things that are popular or should be popular in the media, like it being proven that we blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. The Nord Stream pipeline was a big deal. We've denied blowing that up, yet it's proven that we did it. The United States I'm talking about. We'll more than likely talk about that on the Thinktown podcast tomorrow night. That's terrorism. I'm not saying that the United States has never been involved in its own terrorism before. Of course we have. This is clear-cut terrorism. We don't go into other countries and I say we're not supposed to. We shouldn't, I should say. Not shouldn't. Go into other countries and other parts of the world and blow their utilities up and then act like that's okay. Yet we're not part of the war of Russia and Ukraine. So we'll be talking a little bit about that in tomorrow's Thinktown podcast. But I believe that a lot of these shootings and a lot of things that you're seeing take place are trying to hide the fact that the Biden administration has screwed up so bad in Ohio and that we blew up that Nord Stream pipeline. I truly believe that that's what this is. So you're seeing these people right now been intentionally lump all these things into the same mass shooting category to make it look like we've got this crazy epidemic. So now they can redirect everybody's attention and this week try to put forth new bills, new anti-gun bills to get everybody arguing about guns again and talking about guns, both sides, so that we ignore all the other crap that's happening behind our backs that have massive negative impacts on our lives, our atmosphere, our worlds in general. So that's where I look at stuff like this, and I tend to. I don't trust our government anyway. I never have. I shouldn't say that. I have trusted our government back whenever I was a wee lad and very naive, but I certainly don't now. Before I sign off real quick, American Patriots Apparel says, why are my comments disappearing? Have no idea. Email Google, email YouTube. You see me here. I'm literally by myself putting this live stream on. And if your comments are disappearing, don't know what to tell you, bud. Like I said, YouTube has a tendency to do whatever they want with my feed, my live stream, and my videos, and I don't always have full control over that. So in this case, apparently that is happening again. But tomorrow night, I will be trying to put out another live stream again. I'll probably run that ThinkTown podcast through this Legally Armed site as well. And I'm going to do my best to do that for, like I said, the next few weeks. I hope you guys enjoy that. If you don't like politics and you just want Second Amendment stuff, don't tune into the ThinkTown podcast. Because if anyone complains and says, I came here for 2A stuff and I didn't want to talk about politics, well, click off. You know, a mouse is a very powerful thing. It allows you to choose and not choose various things. And if you're upset because someone puts a video out, then you need to click off of it. And if you can't bring yourself to click all off of it, then you love me too much. You probably have a mental disorder at that point. So just learn to click off of things that you don't appreciate and don't like, and don't let it bother you and beat you down so much, because you don't need that level of anxiety to make you crazy. Folks, I'm gonna get out of here. I just want to put a quick live stream out for today, talking about these mass shootings, and the crazy stuff that we're just seeing going on right now. Again, I it's hard for me to wrap my brain around it, and they keep throwing them in the same bucket, and it's driving me absolutely insane. So I hope you'll watch my video from this morning. I put a video out on that Memphis shooting and that gang-related shooting. You'll see it. It's the most recent video that I uploaded. But check it out if you get a chance. In the meantime, I'll be putting some videos out this week, as I stated earlier, and should be some interesting ones, guys. Again, trying to break some things down to where we'll have talking points to take to that anti-gun side as they mount their attack against us, because there's no doubt in my mind that they will be mounting an attack this week against honest, law-abiding gun owners. In fact, February 19th, so we're 2 days after the, or no, that was last week. Would have been last week, the Parkland shooting. So they have their own level of anniversaries coming up, or amount of anniversaries coming up. So you're going to see them mount a pretty good campaign against us law-abiding gun owners coming up very, very soon. And again, I do believe it will be this week. So keep an eye out for that. Keep your powder dry, guys. Watch out for all you guys, you folks out there. Make sure that we're taking care of each other, watching each other's backs and all that. And look, if nothing else, let's warn each other, warn our friends what's coming. Those people that are complacent about their gun rights, that think that they can't possibly be taken away because they're written into the Constitution. Don't forget that the ATF doesn't care about the Constitution, any real laws out there, that they are simply going to try to enact whatever they can. And this is the type of situation that Joe Biden and the wackos on the far left are notorious for executive orders. They're going to act like they got to jump in and do something. They're going to use the words epidemic, because remember, the epidemic that they rode for 2 years and suppressed everybody and oppressed everybody, that's kind of going away now. So they need a new epidemic, and they've been hinting at the gun violence epidemic for a long time. Look for that to get ramped up. My guess is that's the type of rhetoric excuse me, that you're going to see in the coming week is stating that this is now an epidemic of epic proportions and we have to do something at the federal, they're going to say at that level, the executive level of Joe Biden. And I think Congress will potentially allow him to pass some kind of a stupid executive order. So that's my biggest fear right now, is that they manipulate people's minds and make them think that this is something that they should do when we know it's not the right thing to do. Guys, have a great Sunday evening. Hope you're doing good. Take care of your families, take care of your friends. And we will hopefully see you guys tomorrow night on that Think Town podcast. If you get a chance, tune in. Always pipe up to it tomorrow night on that Think Town podcast. The beauty of that particular podcast is I have a producer, Chad. You guys may remember Chad, who's done some stuff with me in the past in the gun community, who is our producer of that particular podcast. Plus, there's 2 other people. So it's not up to me to do all of this, put all the podcast out, and change the screens and all that. I'll actually have help doing that. So I'll be able to be a little bit more interactive. So if you're commenting and stating some things in the comment section, I'm going to be able to do things like, grab it and put it out there, so that you guys can see like this on-screen comment right here, which says Mexico's land was taken and that border was moved. But then people get angry when they cross that same border that was their land. It's called wars, Deadly Throat Punch. There's wars. When you win a war, you get things. If that land was taken, then if you consider those people your relatives or your people, they should have fought harder. That's a simple fact. They should have fought harder. If you want something and you do things that cause you to get into a war, you have to be prepared for the consequences, which is losing your stuff, like your land. That ain't Mexico's land anymore. That is not. In fact, Mexico should all be Texas. The United States gave Mexico back. They let Mexico keep some of their land after they got their butts kicked. So again, if you want to keep your land in the future, you got to fight better. Win your wars, homie. Guys, we'll see you all tomorrow night.